Hello, everybody. My name is Vincent Serpico, and I am the owner of Founders Workshop, which is the parent company of Metaverse Workshop. Founders Workshop is a 30-person software development shop. We've been around 14 years, developed over 150 software applications for entrepreneurs and SMBs. I've been in tech for 25 years. I know tech inside and out. And today I'm going to go ahead and give my interpretation of what this ambiguously defined metaverse thing that everybody is talking about is. And before I get started, I want to make an incredibly obvious observation, especially to marketers, that humans are social creatures by nature. We gather in communities. I chose this picture on purpose because it shows how tens of thousands of years ago, we were gathering in caves and telling stories, just like we're gathering today and telling stories. We are social creatures by nature. And we have a propensity to communicate. And while other animals are social creatures by nature, we have a real propensity to communicate. From cave paintings and stone carvings 30,000 years ago, to the Gutenberg press over 500 years ago, to more recently the television, the radio, and most recently the internet. Whenever a game-changing technology comes along that helps us communicate, we grab onto it and we communicate as a species. And since this is a digital conference and we're talking about the metaverse, did you know that digital chat has been around since 1973? That's the year that Nixon resigned and ABBA was top of the charts. Digital chat has been around since 73. The moment we were able to network computers together at universities and governments, one of the very first things we did was chat. We communicated. And of course, that chat has turned into social media over the last 10 to 12 years. And the way I look at social media is that it is anything but social, okay? And the reason why I say that, and that might be really unpopular in a room of marketers, but I'm going to tell you why I say that. Social media is asynchronous communication, all right? Asynchronous communication is when I post something and I expect to get a response back an hour, a day, a week, a month, even a year later. Alrighty, as opposed to synchronous communication when we talk real time, when we talk in real time. AOL chat in the late 90s and the early 2000s was an example of synchronous communication, and it was more social than social media is today. So my definition of the metaverse is that it is the next natural evolution of human interaction, storytelling, and communication driven by technology. And I say natural evolution because it's a synchronous form of communication. It is not asynchronous like social media. And why is the technology going to go ahead and be such a game changer? When you think of any kind of game-changing technologies that either emerged or converged that have changed the course of human history, like for instance, the Gutenberg press in 1450, once we were able to disseminate literature, everything changed. I mean, literally, the course of history around the world changed in marked ways. Then in the mid-90s, when anybody was able to go ahead and get a computer and get on the internet, everything changed. We all know that the internet changed the course of history in ways that nobody could imagine. More recently, mobile devices have made huge changes, and the metaverse is going to be a game changer on the same level, if not an order or two greater than the internet. And the reason why I say that as a technologist is that there are a lot of technologies. Some are emerging, some are mature, but they're all converging together. This is what's exciting. You've got AI, which is an extremely mature technology. You got 5G, and already 6G is being tested in many parts of the world. You've got better XR hardware. The headsets are getting smaller and smaller. In fact, they're working on AR contact lenses right now. Edge computing, bringing the computing power even closer and closer to the devices. Virtual world engines like Unreal and Unity are democratizing the building of metaverse worlds. And you got blockchain payment rails. And when you start converging all of these technologies together, something magical happens. You get real-time 3D. You get interoperability amongst metaverse worlds, meaning that something that I buy or create in one metaverse world, I can take into another metaverse world. You get massively scaled worlds. So imagine a digital twin of Phoenix, and not tens of thousands of people, but millions of people being present in real-time 3D all at once, and persistent too. If I'm in this digital twin of Phoenix and I spill a milkshake on the floor, that milkshake will stay spilled forever until I clean it up. And it's creating this notion of an individual sense of identity, which for marketers, this is really important. I'm going to get back to this in just a second. You take these converging technologies and what they're creating, and you combine it with the innate human wiring to connect, to storytell, to communicate, and that, to me, is the metaverse. And what are the major areas that are going to be affected? Well, first of all, gaming. As we all know, gaming is leading the metaverse right now. Second Life and World of Warcraft were very early versions of the metaverse, and today Roblox and Fortnite are the most popular version. VR chat and Horizon Worlds. Did anybody see We Met in VR? It's on HBO Max. It's a tale of two people who met in VR chat and got married in VR chat. These things are happening. Concerts. Every one of those musicians, performers, have performed in the metaverse, some to millions of people. Can you imagine a time where a performer doesn't have to go on the road for a year and be apart from their family that long? Or when somebody who can't afford a concert ticket or can't physically get to a venue can enjoy their favorite performer? What about fitness? Peloton is a very crude, but it is a metaverse. And of course, Supernatural VR, which everybody knows Meta has their radar targets on. Remote work. Microsoft bought Allspace earlier this year, and workrooms, Horizon Workrooms. My company, we meet 3 to 5 times a week inside of workrooms. Why do we do that? Because inside of workrooms, in VR, even though they're cartoon avatars, that sense of spatial immersion creates a greater bond than meeting on Zoom or Teams. Marketing and advertising. Well, this is what you all hear about, right? D2A. I want to talk about D2A in just a second. Some of you already know what that is, but I'm going to go into greater depth in that in a second. Education. Victory XR is a company that creates metaversities. A metaversity is a digital twin of an actual university. There's about a dozen and a half of them, some of them brand names, and they're perfect for people who can't physically be at a university or maybe who can't afford to go to a university. And then, of course, e-commerce and brand presence. I mean, it's off the chart right now. Gucci, Nike, Paris Hilton, Snoop Dogg, Hyundai, Wendy's. The list goes on and on. It's important to know the funding, the market cap, and the timing of the metaverse. So estimates by Citigroup and McKinsey put the metaverse at between $2 trillion and $13 trillion by 2030. The upper estimate of $13 trillion includes all the ancillary technologies like 5G or 6G, things like that. And the $2 trillion lower estimate is a metaverse only accessed via VR. While I'm a huge VR fan, I do believe the metaverse is going to be device agnostic through VR, through AR, and through holographic devices. Holographic devices are a lot closer than you think. So I would put the metaverse industry, based on all the studying I've done, around 4 to 5 trillion in 2030. 4 to 5 trillion. That's freaking huge, okay? Over 120 billion has already flowed into metaverse-related companies and venture capital this year alone. That's massive. These people are seeing the seismic shift that the metaverse is going to create. Now, according to Gartner, the fully envisioned metaverse is probably 10 plus years away. And I say that for a couple of reasons, because there are companies out there, there are investors out there, and there are large brands out there that see the seismic shift the metaverse is going to create, even though it's about 10 years away, and they're getting in now. It's like in 1995, if you really knew what the internet was going to be, you'd be creating websites in 1995. If you didn't get what it's going to be, you waited until 2003, 2004. But folks are getting in right now. There are 55 million daily active users on Roblox. You guys know that? 55 million daily active users on Roblox. And in many estimates, within 5 years, Roblox daily active users are going to overtake Facebook by a combination of Facebook attrition as well as Roblox aging up. Meta, as everybody knows, is investing $10 billion a year in reality labs. That number is going down to a mere 9 or 8 billion because of their cutbacks. But in their announcement of laying off 11,000 people, just a tiny sliver was in reality labs. The vast majority was across their other properties. We went over all of this already about in 2021, there was 13 billion in investment. In 2022, 120 billion. Some more estimates on what the metaverse will be worth in 2030. These surveys are really interesting. 59% of consumers are excited about transitioning their everyday activities into the metaverse. Like I said, at my company, we do a lot of meetings in the metaverse because we're finding a greater sense of immersion. And those companies that are metaverse aware, over half of them are already experimenting now. They see the vision, they're getting in now. Smart move. And what companies are getting in? You name it. Wendy's Verse in Horizon Worlds, Nike Land and Roblox, JP Morgan and Decentraland, Ferrari and Fortnite. I actually have an infographic of about 60 or 70 brands. If anybody's interested, just get in touch with me and I'll send you that infographic. So what are brands doing in the metaverse? Well, in Horizon venues over the last 4 years, you see that media and entertainment, sports and concerts led the pack. What's the common thread here? Community. People coming together in community. Alrighty. Fortnite collaborations have been media entertainment, video games, and music. Again, it's community. It's people coming together, craving to come together. Roblox collaboration, it's the same story, all right? All the metaverse worlds, it's the same story. People want to get together. They want to create community. They want to talk synchronistically between each other. And talking about Roblox brand collaborations, look at how it's off the charts, literally, over the last 2 years. Savvy companies are experimenting in the metaverse now. And why are they doing that? Well, there are, by estimates, there's 400 million active metaverse users today. 51% of them are under the age of 13. 1 in 4 humans are on this planet is Gen Z. And when they want to hang out with their friends, they go to Roblox or Fortnite. They're constantly streaming. They don't call the metaverse. They don't even call it the internet. Just like fish don't call the ocean. They live in this, okay? They live in this world. They're digitally native, digitally savvy, but they don't know they're digitally native and digitally savvy. It's just the air that they breathe. And they have different identities for each metaverse world they hang out in. All right, they have a different avatar for Roblox, a different avatar for Fortnite. And within each metaverse world, for instance, in Roblox, the average user changes their avatar clothes once a day. That's because these kids highly value their self-expression and their individual identity in their digital world that they live in. The same exact way that we value our individual self-expression and identity. The identity that you bring today inside this conference is different than the identity that you bring when you spend time with your family, which is different than the identity that you bring when you hang out with your friends. We all have different identities, and these kids have different identities too that they express with their avatars. That's why Ready Player Me, which only creates avatars, interoperable avatars between metaverse worlds, has raised over 70 million in funding. It's why Altar, which creates avatars on mobile devices, got acquired just the last few weeks ago by Google for 100 million. These are just avatar companies. All they do is create avatars. That's why the D2A model is one of the most important things you need to walk away with today. It stands for direct to avatar, and it refers to the business model of selling products directly to a shopper's avatar. Now, today, the vast majority of what's being sold to avatars is clothes and accessories. But the really smart marketer, the really smart entrepreneur will level up and understand how to speak to this avatar in a way that they want to be spoken to. How do you identify an avatar? How do you identify a user's avatar and really recognize this person and who they are? So what can you do today to get involved in the metaverse? Well, one thing you can do is you can learn, all right? I say this, the number 3 thing you can do is learn. And I have links to books, studies, podcasts. Again, if you're interested, just let me know. I'll send you the slide deck. The number 2 thing you can do is immerse yourself. If you've never put on a VR headset, get a VR headset and put one on and try it out. Go inside of Horizon Worlds or VR Chat. If you don't have a VR headset or not inclined to get one, try out Sandbox, Decentraland, Roblox, but get in there. Get in there and see what it's all about if you're not already immersed in. And the number one thing that you can do today is experiment. Brands that ignore the metaverse are ignoring current and future customers. Now, you might think I'm crazy for saying that. If I would have said that in 1993, if I would have said brands that are ignoring the internet, or the information superhighway back then, are ignoring current and future customers, you might have said, yeah, but Wired magazine said the internet's a fad. It's not going anywhere. All right, the internet is not a fad. We all know, okay? It changed the world as we know it. And the metaverse is going to make the same change, if not a bigger change that the internet has made. So start experimenting today. Define what the metaverse is to you. Look at your business. Look at your customers. And the intersection of the three should be the project that you work on. And then I'm working on a project right now also, actually. So besides owning Founders Workshop and Metaverse Workshop, I also own Breakthrough Smash Room. Smash Room is a place where people go to release stress by literally breaking things. And I am creating a digital twin of my Smash Room inside the metaverse. The things that people smash, they're going to be in-app purchases, and for every dollar spent on a smashable will be a one-to-one credit to use at a Breakthrough Smash Room location. And we're going to have licensed therapists do talks on mental health inside the Smash Room. That's how Breakthrough Smash Room is going to create a presence inside the metaverse. So I have two more slides, and I really want to emphasize this, that community is at the heart of the metaverse economy. I've been in technology for 25 years. I see where this is leading. And what I can say is that the metaverse is going to unwind the 10 plus toxic years that social media created by creating a world of synchronous communication. I like these pictures because it shows 20,000 years ago how we got together as tribes inside of tents and told stories in communities, synchronously, not asynchronously. 500 BC in Rome, sure, the technology changed, the clothes changed, but people still got together in communities. Same thing in 1250 Europe. We got together in communities. And the metaverse is going to enable, it already does, people to get together once again in communities and talk and tell stories and communicate. That's why when you create your experience inside the metaverse, think about creating air. I say it's all about, and it's always been about community, storytelling, and conversational relationships. So when I say create air, I mean make sure that your metaverse experience is authentic. These kids are digitally native, they're digitally smart, they smell bullshit a mile away. Make sure it's authentic. And make sure it's interesting too. They're so used to spending their lives inside of Roblox and Fortnite or whatever. You want to make it interesting. You don't want to put a billboard up, okay? And finally, you got to make it relevant. Make it relevant to them. Identify their avatar. That's all I got.
You're on the same. All right. So I share most of Vincent's enthusiasm with the metaverse, but it is too slow. The graphics aren't good enough yet. The headsets are heavy. You have vision problems. You wear out after about an hour of wearing a headset. You don't have to wear a headset, but you can. And there's lots of other things that don't make it yet a primetime technology. Now, sure, it's here. It's doing things, but I remember when I got my first PC in 1983, it was just a hunk of metal that sat there on the desk. It was so hard to use. I finally figured out how to create a word processing program and write a document, but I couldn't print it. I finally got a modem card and connect to the university and print it and then drive 40 miles and pick it up. And obviously, PCs have changed since then. When I started getting onto the web and the internet, I built some of the first web pages on the internet, and you couldn't do anything. There's a picture and some text and about 5 or 6 formatting tags. So you really couldn't do much. There weren't many companies on it. There wasn't a lot of utility. Obviously, that changed from 28 years ago. As Vincent mentioned, the first Metaverse was Second Life that launched in 2003. So almost 20 years ago. So as he said, probably 2030 is when it really becomes prime time. And it's hard to see that now when you log on and see the technology and try things. You're like, oh, this is weird. What can I do? It's awkward, you know. But there is a lot going on, and we're gonna talk about that. So I'm going to talk about what brands are currently doing in the metaverse and talk about some use cases and then how marketing is relevant in the universe or the metaverse. So these are some of the major categories where brands are participating. There's others, but we'll go through a couple of these categories today and the use cases. So sponsorship and advertising. Because they're virtual worlds, you see things like billboards. And so they're doing, it's like the banner ad equivalent of 1995. But you know, if you're on Crypto Voxels, a metaverse, you can buy for 1 ETH 250 billboards for 1 week. There's product placements. Hyundai has a whole motor studio on the Roblox platform, and you can go in there and look at their cars and just do all kinds of get all kinds of information about their cars. There's lots of advertising opportunities as well in all the games and the different metaverses. Even Paris Hilton is in the metaverse. So she has a fashion world, and you can see outside of her fashion show before it started, Boohoo, which was a brand she was associated with, bought these billboards, and it came complete with a runway where digital artists would march their avatars out there and show their latest designs. Vincent talked about direct to avatar. So it's already a $54 billion market. To me, that's crazy. But there it is. And there are many fashion brands. If you think about any brand that you're wearing and all the major brands, they're already in the metaverse. They're already creating virtual goods and making a lot of money. NFTs can also be used in a whole number of creative ways. The companies are already using them. There is kind of a winter going on in crypto, if you're not familiar with it, an NFT. So they're probably not worth what they were a year ago. And then, as Vincent mentioned, influencers and friends and other things like that have a big influence on the younger audience where they don't trust companies as much. So let's take a look at Nike. They built their world headquarters inside of Roblox. People can go there and try all kinds of games. And, you know, since they launched that in last year in November, they've already had 8 million people come to their metaverse and check it out, play games, buy merchandise, do various things, and I'll come back to that. Digital twinning is this concept where you create a digital twin of your product, assembly line, factory, whatever the case may be, and both Boeing and Airbus are doing this with their airplanes. And some people refer to this as the industrial metaverse, so consumers obviously won't be able to log into Boeing's metaverse, but these are highly specialized metaverses with technology where, you know, we can have a meeting inside the engine where you have the designers and the engineers, executives, et cetera, can sit inside the engine, look at the systems, simulate them under different running conditions and different contexts, and see how they perform, actually design and build the airplane in a digital simulation before you actually build it physically. Similarly, BMW, they have over 40 models and 100 different options. So together it's like 2,100 different options. And they build these cars in 31 factories around the world. So this was a video showing a guy who was in the metaverse who was wearing a bodysuit. So he was walking around and there were several designers watching him, and they were going through their process of picking up parts, applying them to the car. And this one particular cart that he's standing at was too small, so he bent over to pick it up, saw it was too small, and said, hey, could you lift that up? And so he stretched it out and lifted it, and the parts come out and a robot and deliver onto these carts. And so they're not only testing their products, but all the parts vendors are connected to this. They're looking at the process, they're looking at safety and ergonomics and how to build the actual car, and then designing all that so that when they build a new factory or retrofit a current factory, they can implement all these improvements. And they're seeing massive improvements, by the way, like upwards of 40% efficiency in their assembly line. All right, so meta-commerce. This is going to be huge in the metaverse, right? You can imagine. There's different models of commerce. The physical that we're all familiar with, the retail model that's been perfected, over 100+ years. There's the digital to physical. This is the e-commerce model we're all familiar with. And then the virtual to virtual, where you're in a virtual world and you're buying virtual goods. This has been around for decades, actually, in games. And now you're seeing a lot of brands selling virtual goods as well. Two new models that it'll enable is the virtual to physical. So you'll be in a virtual world and you'll buy a physical product, have it delivered, or go to the store, pick it up, whatever. And also the physical to virtual. So when you're in a store buying a product, you may get issued an NFT and be able to go home and get that virtual product so that you could use it in the metaverse in whichever way is possible. Okay, so when we talk about metaverse, we think about the future, and I think the really high fidelity metaverses aren't going to happen until 2030-ish. But let's look at what's happening today. I already mentioned virtual goods being a $54 billion market. That's twice as much per year that we spend on music. That's already happening today. In fact, last year. So the GDP of Second Life is about $650 million. So they have not only all kinds of things that they sell in there with their own sort of dollars that convert to current US currency, but also creators go in there and they can create things and sell them and sell goods. So there's people making millions of dollars in a living just on Second Life. 79% of active users have made a purchase in a metaverse. So this is something every brand should get excited about. Real estate is another one that really, confuses me because that's a lot of money to spend for a virtual plot of land. And there's a rumor that someone bought a plot of land next to Snoop Dogg's house for $450,000, hoping that there's going to be a lot of traffic that comes that way, and they're going to take advantage of it in some way. I don't know if they can simulate digital smoke. They'll be coming around there, but maybe by then. Also, Gucci has a very popular handbag. The virtual version of it sold for over $4,000. The actual bag is only $3,400. Not that you would spend that much on a bag, but Dyson did some really neat things. So in Dyson's, you can go in a virtual world, pick up their products, check them out, check out all the different attachments. You can get product explosions where you can look at different parts, and they're showing here a video where the design engineer will talk about why they designed it that certain way and how it works. You can also try it out on virtual hair, so you can see the impact that it'll have on the hair. And this really changes e-commerce, right? Our experience today is we go look at a product on Amazon, we get 5 or 6 or 7 pictures. You can kind of zoom in on them and make a purchase decision from that. You can imagine that this might have a much bigger impact on that purchase decision. Coca-Cola certainly as a brand is in the metaverse. They launched an NFT. It was these 4 pictures together as one. They auctioned it off on Friendship Day for $575,000 for a charity. So, they had millions of people participate in this and become aware of it. And obviously they're making a brand presence there and doing good in the community. And a lot with Web3, I know someone talked about that earlier, and the metaverse is part of that. The creator community is a big community. Has anyone heard of Beeple? He is an artist, digital artist, Mike Winkleman, I believe is his name. He had never sold a print for over $100. And he started this project called Every Day. So for over 7 years, every day he created original piece of digital art. And then put this together and auctioned it off at Christie's. Does anyone, and it set a record, does anyone know how much this sold for? You might know, Vincent, but $69 million. It's insane, but he's making a living. He's now one of the 3rd most valuable living artists of all time. And the record, a new record, sold for $94 million. So there we are. So marketing in the metaverse, the more things change, the more they stay the same. I think this is true for any new technology or medium, right? You're still going to have to understand your audience, how to target them, what they value, what they're interested in, what their products are. And there will be hundreds of thousands of metaverses, just like there are hundreds of thousands of websites. And so the question will be, how do you gain attention? How do you get people to come to your virtual world or presence? One of the first things brands can do is replicate what you offer in real life in the virtual world. So Nike was working with this company called Artifact, and Artifact was building these virtual shoes that got so popular that Nike bought them, of course, created 20,000 NFTs and pair of digital sneakers, and you can go on and buy your digital sneakers so that you look snazzy in your avatar. And this one, if we were to bid on this, if you were to buy this for your avatar, anyone have an avatar in the audience here? Does anyone have an avatar and participated in? Okay, I got 2 people, so $130,000 for a pair of tennis shoes. What's your Nike go for? $120, $150 in the real world? I don't know where these people are, but I'd like to find them. Another thing that you can do is just set up a virtual venue. This is what most people are doing. So whether it be on Roblox or Sandblocks or Decentraland, they're partnering with those platforms, setting up a virtual venue. In this case, it's Warner Music that's set up on Sandblocks. And then Snoop Dogg had a concert there. Vincent talked about some of the concerts, had millions of people attend. Experiential marketing. So because this is a 3D world and people will be walking up to your storefront and entering your store, this is really an opportunity for brands to get creative and innovative. You need to offer them something interesting. And a lot of people right now have certain games and puzzles and different things that they're doing, and obviously product placements that you can interact with. But I think this will be the differentiator. It's only limited by your creativity in terms of what you can do. So how should your company start? Vincent mentioned a couple of different things. Have a strategy. You need to, go in there with a strategy, not, hey, it's the new hottest thing, let's do whatever. A lot of companies do that. It's got to be a fit for your target audience. I mean, the demographic leans really young in terms of Gen Z and millennials, but remember that technology is accelerating faster than it is as in the past. So we expect the full-blown metaverse to arrive around 2030. So that demographic is going to shift very quickly to older folks as well. You can sponsor events or tournaments. If you want to just dip your toe, you can certainly have a presence in there. You can create NFTs. This is not only a digital certificate that is a digital, like a title for your car or a deed to your house, that you own this virtual good. But with NFTs, you can also create memberships and different levels of access based on either the amount or number of NFTs you have. So you can imagine giving away products, early introduction to products, getting feedback on products, having special events in retail where your customers could attend if they own an NFT. So there's all kinds of terms and rules called a smart contract that comes with the NFT that just allows you, again, to be as creative and as relevant to your brand and authentic as you want or need to be. And build virtual offices for your employees to work together. As Vincent talked about, Accenture actually bought thousands of headsets and gave it to a lot of their employees and enabled them with meeting rooms so that they can meet in the metaverse and begin to understand this technology because they see the promise of it. And finally, you can create your presence, create a store, create a experiential marketing venue where people can come and check out your brand. You're going to be perceived as more innovative and cutting edge, and you can still do lots of things. And again, companies are making lots of money today. It won't be in the future necessarily. Okay, so Vincent, if you want to come back up on stage. As you read this, there actually are no dumb questions. We're still very early on, and we're still learning all this ourselves as we go. Like Vincent said, in the early days of the internet, we never could imagine what's possible that you can do today, and I think there's even more creativity and possibility with the metaverse. So thank you guys very much. Is it a question with the box? Yes.
Hi. So to get to the 2030 date that you mentioned, how do you see the headsets changing to be something that everyone owns, like a cell phone?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
So to get to that 2030 date where you think that it's going to become more popular, how do you see the headsets evolving to be something that everyone owns?
Sure. So you mean how are the headsets going to physically evolve?
Yes.
Okay. So in AR, what you're already seeing out there is designer glasses, like sunglasses, and the technology inside of AR is just going to get better. Inside those glasses are going to get better and better, where you're going to see a world where folks will be putting on sunglasses that are fully AR capable, able to get you inside the metaverse, and then taking those glasses off and just putting them inside their pocket and then putting them back on again. Mojo is working on AR contact lenses. They're in beta already, and they are literally AR inside of contact lenses. Look it up, Mojo. They're working on a partnership with Nike right now. The headsets that are in R&D right now, they're getting really, really small. I mean, they're going to get to the point where it's just going to be a very thin film around your head, where it's going to be super accessible just to get in there. And then finally, holographic technology is becoming a reality. I would be really surprised if 10 years from now we had 2D screens. Just like nobody uses a CRT tube monitor today. I hope not anyway. Everybody uses flat screen, right? I'd be surprised if 2D monitors exist 10 years from now.
Thank you.
I think we'll see AR and VR glasses merge too. So you have the same set of shield around you, like a big pair of sunglasses, and be able to use it as an AR as well as a VR device.
For sure.
Question, do you or could you give some ideas of how a consumables brand could become relevant? So I'll give you an example: food, laundry detergent, things that aren't necessarily culture or style driven. How could they come to life in the metaverse?
What I would do is I would start building presences inside metaverse worlds. I would start building immersive 3D presence inside of either AR, VR, or standard 3D metaverse worlds, where consumers can get an idea of your brand, of the culture and the tone of your brand inside metaverse worlds. Very much like what Breakthrough Smash Room is doing. Obviously, you won't get the same experience of smashing inside of a metaverse world that you would in real life, but you're going to get our entire culture and the tone of our company, so that when you visit that, you're going to have an expectation of what it's like to actually do business with us. So my advice is start creating a metaverse world now and start experimenting.
You could put digital food in the Smash Room. Like, people don't like broccoli, they could just smash it.
Or watermelons.
All right. You guys mentioned virtual meeting spaces for distributed workforces. Do you have a recommendation on the hardware that would be required to do that currently?
Sure. So there are actually a plethora of virtual meeting spaces right now, accessible via laptop, VR, or both. So talk to me afterwards. I can send you an entire list by email and get you on the right track. We tried about a dozen of them. My personal favorite is Workrooms by Horizon. They just set everything up really nicely, but there's a ton of them out there, and they're accessible, like I said, via laptop and a webcam, or by VR. And the ones that are accessible by laptop, there's still a 3D environment. You're still navigating through a 3D environment with an avatar. You're just not doing it inside of VR. But let's touch base afterwards.
Sure. Thank you.
Right over here.
Is this on? I have two questions. The first is like about safety with kids and stuff. Like, I asked her if her kids are in the metaverse, and she said no, because she doesn't want them talking to strangers. So, like, do you foresee like that being a part of the issue with growth in the metaverse?
Yeah, that's going to be an issue. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be an issue, and it's going to be up to the metaverse worlds to have regulations in place.
And parents.
And of course, and parents too. Yeah, it's going to be an issue, but you're going to have a combination of regulations and rules put into place by metaverse worlds, parents, of course, too, and you're going to have AI too. I was inside of a metaverse world called Gym Class VR. And in gym class VR, you can go ahead and play basketball with other people. Anyway, I missed a hoop and it went, fuck. And as soon as I said that, it blocked me. The AI blocked me and said, foul language is not permitted. If you persist, you'll be kicked out. So they're already working on that.
Okay. And then my other question is maybe just a lack of knowledge, but like, what's the difference between like Call of Duty and then like Fortnite? Like Call of Duty is not in the metaverse, but you're still like being a character and talking to people in the live room and stuff.
Any massively multiplayer online game is a metaverse, period. All right. So Grand Theft Auto, that's a metaverse. All right. The old Grand Theft Auto that you downloaded and you played on your PC, that was not a metaverse. Okay. But the latest version that's on the internet right now, that's a metaverse. Any place where people can get together and communicate in a synchronous fashion is a metaverse, period.
It doesn't have to be 3D either. It's just, it's a virtual room where you're getting together and you can collaborate and talk and discuss and navigate through a 3D space.
That's right. That's right. The really important thing I'm trying to stress here is that, Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, they're not metaverses. They're not synchronous conversations, and humans aren't designed for asynchronous conversations. We're designed to communicate in real time.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I'm a semi-retired medical doctor. I do a lot of wellness programs, but my demographic is 50 years and. Is this better? Yeah, that's better. My demographic is 50 years and older, and your graphic showed that there's very little play with that demographic. Is there any sense that the metaverse is going to attract that group, or is it
Sure.
just going to grow into it?
So various metaverse worlds, just like various social media, attract various audiences, okay? A lot of people have kids who are on TikTok, while a lot of you are not on TikTok, okay? Roblox does attract mostly a younger crowd, but you have other metaverse worlds like Horizon World, which is attracting an older crowd. I go inside of Horizon World and I've met plenty of people in Horizon World in their 50s and 60s. And Horizon World is much less about games and much more about bringing community together, having events, having speakers. In fact, there's a metaverse world inside of Horizon World called House Call VR, which is dedicated to medical professionals giving speeches on various medical ailments. And it doesn't attract kids. It attracts mostly older adults. It's called House Call VR. House Call VR.
Anyone else?
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Very much.